Hey, it's Joey Salvia with episode 96 of OpieRadio. And we have a special birthday in the house. Chef Carl Ruiz. Let's take a couple of calls.
What's going on, guys? It's Nevitz from Nevitz Photography on Instagram.
Nice.
Joey, Carl, Opster. Just want to check in, say what's up. Love the podcast. Keep it going.
Thanks.
Carl, happy motherfucking birthday. Enjoy.
Yeah.
And I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you for that, Nevitz. Keep up that great photography work.
Hey guys, it's Creamy Butters calling from Plymouth, Massachusetts. I'm just calling to say happy birthday to Chef Carl Ruiz. Wherever you guys are out in the world today, all the OpieRadio podcast listeners, if you're having a decent meal with a tasty beverage, whether you spent $200 for it or $2 at a gas station, once you get them pinkies out, give Chef a little salute. Pinkies out, motherfucker. Happy birthday, Chef.
I'd like to know what gas station you're going to, Creamy Butters. $2 for a meal? You gotta be freaking kidding me. Happy birthday, Carl. In special tribute to his birthday, we're gonna play Carl's song for him and then get right into an episode of OpieRadio.
Ooh, no, come on, man. Do like rusing or something.
What's rusing? It's ruizing.
Oh, ruizing. Oh, now you're finally going to tell me how to pronounce your last name.
Well, because rusing sounds fucking dirty.
It kind of does.
He's always there to make you laugh or take a food porn photograph. Just reading his shirts and hats will make life better.
I'm like exotic. I'm like a fat unicorn.
He's a chef who plays to win. In fact, the knife was named after him. Just watch him as he works. He's a real go-getter.
Hit it, Joey.
You could tell by his Instagram that he doesn't give a damn. He don't need no reason to go ruizing. He goes ruizing all night long. The Cuban does what he wants.
Wrap it up.
He doesn't give a fuck. He don't need no reason to go ruizing. He goes ruizing all night long.
It's OpieRadio. See, I changed it up today because I'm at the Westwood One Lounge with Carl Ruiz. It's time once again for the OpieRadio podcast. Boo! But I went with do.
I like the duty one.
Because I'm preparing because we got Billy Corben, who's one of my favorite people in the world, for real. Because I love documentaries. I love Twitter. I love people that go after politicians. I love comedy.
Whoa, wait. You love Twitter?
Oh, I love
There's 17,000 people that'll disagree with you. Blockarola.
Block. But I started this one with do, because I'm preparing, you know.
Yo, that's a nice computer, cuz.
It's one of three. I'm doing.
Whoa! Humble brag just hit me right in the face. I thought I was back at the bar.
I could throw you one.
Oh.
But I was just making sure I had my stuff ready for Billy Corben. By the way, I'm going to meet him for the first time. It was always on the phone with the guy. So I'm
never met Billy?
So I'm not sure if we should go fist bump, handshake, hug.
No hug.
Chug or whatever that thing
What's
is.
chug? What are you going to do to him?
What is it called? The handshake, hug?
I don't know what that is.
I might kiss him on the cheek, though.
Don't do that.
I might go kiss on the cheek.
He's from Miami, but he's not one of us. He's not Cuban, so he's going to take that as a slight.
I'm gonna ask him then. I'll ask him if I could kiss him on the cheek.
You going to get the breakfast off the beard first?
I got to shave this thing. But anyway, I went do, because I walked into the bathroom here at Westwood Lounge.
And someone crushed it?
Someone is dropping hammers. Like sweet and sour. Nothing worse than smelling someone else's sweet and sour dump in the stall as you're just trying to take a leak.
Dude, I the other day, I'm taking these probiotics.
Yes.
I had a lot of hot dogs.
Yes.
And I went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
first torpedo in,
Yeah.
I had to take my towel that I was going to take a shower with and wrap my head around it like a mummy, so I can survive the smell. Oh my God. I maced myself.
Wait, your own smell?
I couldn't take it. It was foreign to me because of these probiotics. But
Yeah, I skunked out my whole family over the weekend.
bro, it flattens your stomach, bro. Takes all the gas out and stuff.
Oh.
You got it. You're eating well, man.
It's a little winter blubber.
You're looking like a little married Carl.
Couple loops in Central Park on a city bike, and then I'll throw it in the Hudson River. I'll be back to having a flat belly, my brother.
Oh my God.
I will have a flat belly. So I can't wait to talk to Billy Corben. His new documentary is called Screwball, man, about the whole steroid controversy with Arod. And biogenesis, right?
Biogenesis, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just another crazy story out of Florida.
I want to talk to him about Cuban stuff.
What do you mean?
Like just Miami and the good restaurants to go to. He knows a lot of shit, man.
He knows his food.
On Twitter, he tweets out, we like the same restaurants.
Yeah.
We're friends with a chef, Richard Hales, which is one of my party squad down there.
Okay.
Kid's gone through 3 brain surgeries.
Really?
Still at the bar. Soldier.
Right.
And
What kind of brain surgeries?
a tumor. They had a tumor in his head. They got it out.
Right.
And he went back home. He rested. He went back to cook a couple days later.
Yeah.
He's the guy that I partied with at the Deuce right out of tumor surgery.
Wow. That's an
And he's
animal.
in the middle of like a photo shoot or something for his new menu, and he just passed out.
Right. I smell a flower that I'm allergic to, and I can't party with you. Carl will call me. Hey, let's go have a few drinks. I'm in the city. I'm like, Carl, I sniffed a daffodil. I'm down and out for at least a day and a half now.
I touched an apple. I'm at St. Luke's.
At least I don't have that peanut allergy crap.
Oh,
That made-up peanut allergy crap.
Well, I was talking to my brother about that, actually.
It's not made up, I know. And
It's not made up, but the problem is if you eat all the foods that you're allergic to, most people with light allergies, when you're very young, your body will
Yeah, you
fight
could grow
against
out of it, right?
Because I was allergic to oysters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
But I was like, I love them. So I would eat them, and I looked like a fucking balloon, and I didn't care. Like, Carl, you good? I'm like, I'm great.
That's why you love the old ladies.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Your pussy looks more like an oyster than a
That's
young
not true.
clam.
That's not true.
Than like a young clam.
That's not true. I knew a girl who got the surgery down there.
Well, that's why, because it looked like an oyster.
No, maybe she got into a motorcycle
With some of that
accident.
spilling over the sides of the shell.
Don't bother me.
And then
now.
it's discolored, but it still tastes the same.
More to love.
I know my clams.
Oh, my God. You beat
Billy!
You beat shitter.
Don't get up.
No, I will.
Are you
Don't get
kidding
up.
me?
What's up, Billy? How you been?
Billy Corben, how are you,
The
buddy?
man.
Great, thank you. How are you?
I was just telling Carl, we have never met. It was always on the phone.
Absolutely true.
It was always on the phone, but I always felt like I knew you, man.
Carl, however, I have met.
Yes.
We were eating. Oh, wait, spoiler alert. I should have. We were ruizing so hard. So hard.
The Ruiz.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like that.
So hard.
Yeah, but we've always talked on the phone about documentaries over the years, and I was just telling people the other day, I think I'm a huge documentary fan. I always like documentaries, but I think I'm a huge documentary fan because of you and Netflix. I think Cocaine Cowboys put me over
Oh,
the
it was
edge
the-
as far
I'm
as
telling
loving
you.
documentaries.
My friends from Miami called me when it came out, hardcore Miami guys, and like, oye, Papo, did you see that Cocaine Cowboys?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like fucking beautiful, bro.
You know Al Pacino? That was
I do.
a very good Tony Montana impersonation.
That was family films for you and your
Yeah.
boys,
Yeah.
right?
Like, look at Uncle Poppy on TV.
Yeah.
No, it's true that we were actually, I think Cocaine Cowboys was one of the first documentaries on the Netflix streaming service because
Yeah.
we were a big hit on the old red envelope or whatever they called it. You know, when
Right.
they were actually sending out DVD. You remember DVDs?
yeah.
There was a discs. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom
Nobody
used to
knows what the
sell
hell
them at
that
the
is.
supermarket.
So you remember the early business model of Netflix? You had to mail away for the
Absolutely.
And I remember thinking to myself, stupid me. I'm thinking, oh, this is never going to last. What a stupid business strategy this is.
And you can pick them.
But then they figured out that, all right.
Sharp as a bowling ball.
Stop tips. AOL, they're going to go far.
MySpace. I put all my money in MySpace.
But you had the cable networks taking off. You had the computer taking off. And they're still like, well, if you want to see, some good documentaries, you got to mail away for them. And I'm like, man, this Netflix is never going to last.
It's never going to work.
And
Let me go
then
plug in my modem.
And then they figured it out, and now there's no one bigger than Netflix at this point as far as content.
And they're great in terms of getting the word out in terms of what would have otherwise been like sort of specialized or even marginalized content is now some of the most popular shit out there. And like documentaries, for example, or someone keeps saying, documentaries, are they having a renaissance? I'm like, no, documentaries are always a thing.
Right.
It's just I think they're more popular now, and I think there's great work being done now.
I was thinking about you last night. I was watching the documentary Prohibition with Ed Burns, right?
Yeah.
And it's great.
Was it Ken Burns? Was that Ken Burns documentary? Or is there
I think it was Ed Burns.
No, Ken Burns.
Ken Burns.
One thing with some documentaries is you start getting into them and they're exciting, but then they fall flat for a little while. And that's one thing with Cocaine Cowboys. It has the pace, and your new one, they have the pace of a movie. Well, they never fall flat. Where sometimes you're like, oh, it just nerded out. I'm out.
Well,
you know what I mean? But you tell a story in a very concise
It's the rhythm
way.
of Billy Corben's documentaries. They're almost like hip-hop videos.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
there's just so much happening. Before we get started, though, can I got
We haven't started?
Well, I mean, we're going to jump into
We're stretching.
I don't think I could talk to you without going to your Twitter. I know we're going to talk about Screwball and all that, but one of the things I love about Billy Corben, he has one of the best Twitter games out there. One of the best Twitter games, and I'll tell you why. Because he finds the crazy-ass stories, mostly out of Florida. He also goes after politicians, which I love.
I love it.
He talks documentaries. He knows his sports. But the latest one on your Twitter, and I'm like, I just happen to be talking to this guy tomorrow. I got to bring it up. So you got a guy, he's a West Boynton son, 40, attacks mom, 73. This is on your Twitter. After she refuses to dress his mannequin.
You're talking to him tomorrow?
I wish.
Did you just say you're talking to that guy tomorrow?
I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You post these crazy-ass Florida stories.
I think he's in jail right now, but I could get the mannequin booked on the show for you.
He's not in jail. Tim Sabian's on the 4th floor here.
What the hell is in the water in Florida that you get one of these? Like
Flocka, mostly. Mostly.
But you read the whole story, right? And didn't just post a headline?
Yeah, no, I read the whole story. That's the thing about it, and it reminds me a bit of Screwball. It's like the more you know, the less sense it makes.
Yeah. Right.
Like you thought, like, okay, well, that headline is obviously magnificently absurd. So let me read the story so I can make some sense of this.
Yes.
Nothing happens.
You're like, I'm getting the facts now.
Right.
What the fuck is going on here?
Right.
That's one of the, and I believe it's a skill, a unique set of skills, if you will. And I believe that I can tell from the headlines whether or not it's going to be a Florida story or not.
Yeah.
I think I can tell. And if it's not Florida, it's usually Texas or Alabama.
Yeah.
That seems to be in that order almost. These preposterous stories that you just, you most people default to Florida. But I can always tell. I'm like, there's something about, like, I can tell if a story is a Florida story or not.
Yeah, I didn't realize how crazy Florida was until I started following you on Twitter. But this story goes, so there's a guy that likes dressing mannequins, or he likes to get his mom to dress mannequins.
He's 40. I think his mom is 73 years old, and he attacked her.
Yeah.
He struck her several times with a wooden stool.
Yeah.
And then shoved dumplings in her mouth.
Yes.
What a waste. I mean, dumplings are delicious.
Why?
Yeah. I'm sure she enjoyed that part of it. It was the stool part of it. She was not.
These are the vegetable ones.
And I have to be the guy. Why the dumplings? I think he made his point before the dumplings.
I know.
Yeah, well, the dumplings they had made for dinner. And so I feel like it was an attack of convenience.
Yeah.
Like when you're an addict of convenience, you don't discriminate. You'll do there's booze, there's pills, there's blow, whatever it is.
Stop staring at me, Billy.
Yeah, I think you must have had a powdered donut for breakfast. I see it in your beard.
Dry heat. That's the nosebleed. Dry heat.
Oh boy.
What up, Miami?
But so the dumplings were in arm's reach, and he felt that would be the method of attack. I feel like he should be he should be arrested for delicious assault and battery. Is really what he should be arrested for.
But they don't explain like the whole mannequin thing. And did the mom like dress the mannequin in the past and finally had it and said, I'm not dressing your stupid mannequin anymore?
Yeah. No, and the article itself, and I've read several articles about this subject. I had a great interest in it after I read the first story. I'm like, I need to learn more about this. Let me Google this. And so it turns out that the article it makes as much mention of the mannequin as the headline does.
Yeah.
Like it just sort of, and by the way.
Yeah.
And some versions of the story, it's just a matter of fact, sort of a throwaway at the end. They totally bury the lead. They're like, the fight began over, incidentally. The fight began when during an argument because the mother would not dress his mannequin.
Don't you want to know where he's getting the mannequins from, how he dresses them? Is he having sex with the mannequins? Are they more like real dolls?
I started to write fan fiction about this story, and I had this thing where like he is like fantasizing that he is Andrew McCarthy, and the mannequin is going to come to life as Kim Cattrall.
Very good.
And we can build this dream. Yeah. So I had this whole thing in my head. He's got and then he's gonna maybe he sort of thinks he's Andrew McCarthy.
Yeah.
And then he's going to do this whole thing where he kills the mother and pretends she's alive.
Right.
Like Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
And he's just going through the whole filmography. He's
course.
like this deranged lunatic who's just going through, and then he's going to put a voodoo curse on her that when they play calypso music, his mother is reanimated.
Yeah.
Like Weekend at Bernie's 2. Which is like me today, but with Red Bull instead of a calypso voodoo curse, because I'm literally my body is just dead.
They didn't really need to make that second movie Billy.
One thing I love about you, Billy, is you criticize Miami, but you love Miami, and that's a fine line because, I mean,
it is.
Miami sometimes is hard to love. You know, it's like the politics, what's that with Beckham and everything, buying that stadium to watch games and that soccer shit? It's crazy. That corruption is nuts.
Wait, what's going on with the stadium and the soccer and the Beckham?
It's just a land grab, and it's ridiculous. And everybody's sitting there like, how is Miami just keep getting suckered into these stupid...
We don't get suckered.
No, everyone's in on it. That's the beauty of Miami. No one's being tricked. Billy embraces what his city's all about.
Embrace the corruption.
No, you have to embrace it, I would guess.
Yeah, you'll see one of my most recent tweets today is about the mayor of Miami.
I saw.
And so I wanted to know, well, first of all, last year he bought a $1.475 million house.
Right.
But nobody knows how.
Right.
Cuban collusion.
Nobody knows how. And all of his financial disclosures indicate he could not afford the down payment. There's no indication that his income level would be able to sustain the mortgage payments, let alone also feed a family and exist. Then it was just discovered. First of all, I've been quite critical of him.
Is this the Fisher Island thing?
This is the Fisher Island thing.
Holy shit.
So what we discovered is that he's an attorney who has kept his client list a secret, despite the fact that he is the recently elected mayor of the city of Miami. And the Miami Herald broke this story. They had evidence that, in fact, a document from his law firm that said that he was hired by the residents of Fisher Island to be a lobbyist for them in the county of Miami, the county government of Miami-Dade, not lobbying the city per se, which is he is the mayor of. But here's the thing: Fisher Island is this is this luxury. The Bushes used to have a vacation home there. It is
all the Cubans are like, that's where the white people are. That's where they're all held up.
It is an island. It is an island right off of Miami Beach. You have to take a ferry to get there, which is, for us in Florida, that's pretty fancy. You guys are used to that sort of shit down here.
Yeah.
But, that's fancy up there. And it is the richest zip code in America. Yeah. So get this. It turns out that the mayor of Miami secretly the mayor of one of the poorest cities in America, Miami, is a secretly paid lobbyist for the richest zip code in America to lobby the county where his father is a commissioner. And nobody knew about this.
Wow.
And he's like, and his first response is, no, they hired me as an attorney. I wasn't a lobbyist.
Yeah.
And they didn't just hire me, they hired my whole team.
Right.
So let's refer to the document, which says, this is for the exclusive services of Francis Suarez. Not a team, not the firm, just him. And this is right after he was elected mayor.
Oh, my God.
They
what
retained
a
him.
mess.
And then he goes, but I wasn't a lobbyist. They weren't hiring me. Because he never registered as a lobbyist. Yeah. So he's like, I couldn't have lobbied. I didn't register as a lobbyist. Let's refer to the document, please.
I'm not an assassin. I never said I was an assassin.
The document from his law firm is the top of the page. The header is subject, Miami-Dade lobbying. It's like,
it's mind-blowing.
Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, dude. Of course. It's like, what are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? You know, it's just, but it's, so it's
Eagles
Miami,
fan, nice.
Miami's America's Casablanca.
Well, now that everyone knows what's going on with the mayor and Fisher Island, guess what? Nothing will change. That's the beauty of politics.
Nothing will change.
The Chicago prosecutors just said not guilty.
Yeah, of course. And I wish more people would come on board and realize it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You can have your team all you want, but it's all bullshit. And we're all being played by these guys.
You have this from top to bottom, and that's what's happening with the soccer team. So I was watching the mayor of Miami, sitting next to Jorge Mas, multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
His partner David Beckham.
Yeah. His last name means more in Spanish.
Mas. You may have heard of.
Always fits the story.
Yeah. You may have heard of David Beckham.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kicks a ball for a living.
He's
married to a
chick.
Spice Girl.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, very wealthy as it turns out.
Yeah.
By the way, kicking a ball, very lucrative.
Yeah.
There you go.
And not being a teacher, not so lucrative, but kicking a ball, very lucrative. Yes. Supply and demand. So there's the mayor sitting next to Jorge Mas, and they're supposed to be negotiating. Meaning it's an adversarial situation.
Right.
Yeah.
One side wants what's best for their side, which you'd think in the case of Miami would be the Miami mayor would be the people of Miami and the taxpayers, because what Jorge Mas and David Beckham want is a no bid, below market value, 99-year lease on the largest public park in the city of Miami. The largest, in fact, piece of property the city of Miami owns, single parcel. Okay? And the mayor just wants to give it to him. And you quickly realized, when I say quickly, I mean the first 12 seconds, that the mayor, the city manager, the city attorney, they're all advocating for this deal, which begs the question, who's on the other side of the table representing the people of Miami? You're literally watching a Miami Herald editorial interview with Jorge Mas sitting directly next to the mayor on one side of the table, and the journalists and editors on the other side of the table questioning him. And you see Jorge Mas talking and lying, by the way. And then you have the mayor of Miami waiting for his turn and furiously scribbling notes on a legal pad next to him. And I captioned the picture, Jorge Mas and his attorney make their case for, but this was a year ago. This was a year ago. What's fucked up about it now is maybe he is being paid by Jorge Mas as a secret client. So what we've discovered now is you cannot trust a single word the mayor says, because we now know that he's got this secret client list of rich people that with clear conflicts of interest with obviously the people of Miami-Dade, and we would never know about it. So in my opinion, you just have to assume that everything he's saying is bullshit,
of course,
and on behalf of moneyed interests.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all corrupt.
It's going to come out that Mas, helped his campaign or something, or paid.
No, we actually already know that he was donating to his campaign for strong mayor. There are certain things that we know publicly, but what if he's a legal client of his?
Pay him whatever you want.
I say no Mas. I say don't bend over for Beckham. That's what I say.
Hey, I like that. Comedy fan. But the point here is, this stuff happens in every city in America, and for the most part, they just simply get away with it. Most of these people are corrupt. Now,
some of them go to prison in Chicago.
Every once in a while, you get one, but every once in a while, no, just to say, look, see, we're doing something. We all know that game, but it leads to my question about Miami, which I learned from you and Cocaine Cowboys. Miami is such a unique city. Built on, they don't have any industry. I've learned that from you over the years. They the whole city's built on the fact that cocaine was incredibly lucrative and everyone was looking the other way in the 80s, right? What is it about Miami? It's such a different type of city.
Well, we have industry, but it's all about selling the dream,
right?
Really, it's not sort of an indigenous industry. It's tourism. That's what we sell. We sell, come to town, drop some cash, and when you're broke, move on to the next town. It's real estate hustle. A lot of which is money laundering. Those new condos in downtown in Brickell, all the Trump buildings in Sunny Isles, all Russian. In fact, you have
that's where my mom lives.
You'd have
What up, Ma?
You have there's this whole trade it's called Sunny Isles called Little Moscow. That's what it's called. Like we have Little Havana, Little Haiti, Little Moscow. What happens is they come to Sunny Isles, and there's this whole operation where pregnant Russian women and their husbands pay, or their baby daddies pay, like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and they bring them over to Sunny Isles.
Right.
They get a condo in a Trump building, and they have their babies here in America, who are now, of course, Americans. This is the type of immigration, and what do they call it? Quote, anchor babies, end quote. You don't really hear a lot of complaining from the president about that. I guess if Mexicans would just buy Trump Tower, condos, we wouldn't have to hear so much about it.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening in Miami. It's happening in Doral, as they call it. It is the Venezuelan part of town, with one of the nation's highest grossing Walmarts and Hooters locations, I'll have you know.
Little Venezuela. The girls are so hot, man. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
You're just stating the obvious. But
we just sell sunshine is what we do.
But there's a lot of characters in Miami. That's what I'm getting at, which leads to your latest documentary. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of people, it seems like they are hiding from something else, from where they originally came from.
Absolutely. No, the great thing about Miami is that it's so close to the United States. And listen, like I said earlier, it's America's Casablanca. Right. So it seems that everybody there, it kind of fled there from someplace else, usually leaving some kind of criminality in their wake, or from elsewhere in the country or in the world. And I mean, listen, if you run long enough and far enough, eventually you reach the southernmost point, you know. And there's something also I think when you look at the map, you look at the geography of the country, we just kind of tip the United States over a little bit. Everything kind of drains into Florida eventually. It just kind of all just pours over there into the Panhandle. But like, it's always been like that. I think it's a newer state. It's always been about lies that came true. I mean, real estate, we were selling swampland before there was anything there.
Right.
And that lie came true. We actually did manage eventually to drain the swamp and be able to build these homes on property that we knew was uninhabitable, but we sold it to people anyway. I mean, I grew up in a city called North Miami Beach, which I think is the only city in America with the word beach in its name that has no fucking beach. It was named that way for a reason.
That's all you need to know about Miami.
Yeah,
well, there's a fucking lake with a crocodile in it, but I don't think that's a beach.
Name it North Miami Beach. They'll buy it.
That's like when I was in Sunny Isles, and my mom goes, I want to go to this Cuban, my favorite Cuban restaurant. They have borschetta soup. I'm like, Mom, what the hell is borschetta soup? She's like, it's delicious. I said, Mom, Cuban borschetta? I'm a Cuban chef. That doesn't exist. She goes, trust me, it's Cuban. So we go. I'm like, all right, Ma. She's either drunk or she's just crazy from doing Zumba all morning by the pool. So I'm like, all right. So we go to this Cuban restaurant. Half of the menu, it's borscht. They made Russian food. There's so many Russians that my mother's eating cabbage soup. She's like, I never saw this in Cuba, but it's delicious.
Wow.
It's called
Little
Moscow.
Little Moscow. Yeah. And the restaurants, like I walk into this Cuban restaurant and they have, Russia, people don't realize, is the #1 consumer of mayonnaise in the world. They eat mayonnaise with everything. It's the craziest fact ever.
Really?
Russia.
That's a fun fact,
Yeah.
bro.
So you go there, and the Russian mayonnaise is on the table. The Russian mayonnaise they have there. And my mom's like, that mayonnaise is delicious. I put it on my sandwich, my croqueta sandwich. I'm like, Mom, what the fuck is going on here?
There are
pickles at the fucking Cuban restaurant.
There are places you walk in there, it looks like a scene from Taken with Liam Neeson. You know, you just like, you really do, and you can just picture like Liam Neeson, you know, sitting at the table at the restaurant, eyeing the room, then suddenly grabbing the fucking mayonnaise bottle and smashing it up against the side of some goon's head. You know, it's a fascinating phenomenon, and a very Trumpian phenomenon too. You know, it's kind of remarkable, but it's also a because Florida kind of thing. You know, the saying that I'm quite fond of. I'm sure you've heard. I'm sure I've said it on your show before.
Yes.
But the older I get, the truer it seems to be. That L.A. is where you go when you want to be somebody. New York is where you go when you are somebody. And Miami is where you go when you want to be somebody else. It's just always been a sunny place for shady people.
And that leads to your new documentary, Screwball, right there.
Good segue.
No,
David.
it really does because
you should do this for a living. when your internship is over, you should definitely get a gig here.
I'm hoping to go somewhere. When I first met you and really got into your work with the Broke series on 30 for 30, the Cocaine Cowboys, the You, Dogfight, which I loved. I loved that one as well.
Yeah, you were. I want to say you were very influential. I think in the success of and the popularity of that documentary. I think it really was such an underdog kind of movie, no pun intended, that like it needed champions, you know, and it needed people telling other people that it was there, that it existed, that it was cool and worth watching, and I really appreciate that.
I don't understand that, Billy. Now we got to talk about that for a second because being someone that loves documentaries, that genre, when I saw like just some clips or the trailer for Dogfight, I'm like, oh my God, this is the next one I'm watching. Right. You know, a bunch of people in the ghetto beating the shit out of each other in the backyard, and then you got the three old ladies that were hilarious. I'm like, it was a no-brainer to just tell people in your everyday life, you got to see this.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like a no-brainer for me when we were making it, you know, and I became very kind of attached to the people that we were documenting, and it took a great many years to make, and then even more years to get released and distributed, and it was incredibly frustrating. I think we probably talked about this, you know, years ago at the time, that like we started to show it. I thought it was some of our best work. I was very enthusiastic about it, and I thought it was a story about people that needed to be told, you know, marginalized people, you know, underserved communities and parts of Miami that people don't know about because it's 23 miles southwest of South Beach. And when you say Miami to people, you know, people think of like 10 blocks from on Ocean Drive from 5th Street to 15th Street. That's what people picture. Yeah. I mean, for fuck's sake, when you watch a Miami Dolphins game or a Miami Hurricanes game, it's at Joe Robbie Stadium, or what's now Hard Rock Stadium, and they go from the field to the blimp shot, and they crossfade to Ocean Drive,
which can't be farther away.
18 fucking miles away. It doesn't make any sense. Like I don't even understand it. Like it's
in the parking lot, people are roasting hamsters and shit. And they're taking a picture.
Well, it's in Miami Gardens, Carroll City. You know, it's which is one of the poorest and depending on what year it is, among the most dangerous cities in Florida, and yet here we are in this beautiful South Beach. It's so surreal. So, you know, I think Miami-Dade County is a huge county. Yeah. Okay, let me put it to you this way: when you got a lot of boroughs here, all right? You got 5 boroughs. Yeah. When you get pulled over by a cop, what's the police department that pulls you over?
NYPD.
Full stop.
Right.
NYPD. In Miami-Dade County,
oh boy, here we
there
go.
are 34 municipalities.
Wow.
Okay, so that's 34 mayors, nearly 34 different police departments. When I drive to work every day, let's assume it's a traffic-free day, or I'm going in later in the morning, I can get there in like 25 minutes-ish, sometimes less. Depending on the route I take, okay, I can be pulled over by any one of 6 different police departments. I mean, why?
That's crazy.
What's the point of that? And it's like, you know, it's like Game of Thrones in paradise with slightly fewer dragons is what it's like. And everybody has their fiefdom. This is the fucked up thing about it is the theory was, okay, Miami-Dade County is so big to govern and to police and to service that what we need to, and not to mention your money as homeowners, as landowners, your property taxes going to like this great big mammoth county. It's like what we need to do is we need to localize government, right? We need to localize government. The theory is government will be more responsive, more transparent, more accountable, because these are our neighbors, our friends and neighbors. You can reach out and touch City Hall. You don't have to schlep all the way to downtown Miami where County Hall is. But that was the theory of it. And the reality of it was it created 34 more opportunities for them to steal from us.
Right.
And that's what happened. Some of the cities in Miami-Dade County are simply racketeering organizations. They are I will tell you, Opelika.
Oh, but Opelika's the best.
Okay, first of all, Opelika.
You can buy a baby there.
Opelika Hialeah, right at the flea market, actually.
So Opelika County, no lie, there's a place called Tia Cole. They make Cuban ice cream sandwiches.
Yes.
Right next to it, there's a Santeria shop, right? You can rent, legit walk in, if there's a sign in Spanish, you could rent roosters and goats for religious ceremonies.
Rent them.
You could rent them, because in white magic, you don't kill the goats.
Oh.
You just pray to the goats.
So I don't practice the white magic.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there, and there's a sign, goats available. Today we have 3 goats left.
Oh, those poor goats.
Opelika. Okay, Opelika has an area known as the Triangle.
Yeah.
Because it's literally shaped, the roads are shaped as a triangle. The only way I can really describe it is like that neighborhood in Training Day.
Yeah.
Remember that cul-de-sac kind of neighborhood? It's that just felt like this sort of dangerous place that a corrupt cop sort of lords
Why did they release the doves?
So I will tell you that for a while, the Triangle in Opelika, this very small area, it's like probably a mile, was per capita the most dangerous place in the world.
Right.
Outside of Iraq at the time. At that time. From drug activity, gang activity, the corruption of the government and the police department. The FBI raided City Hall several years ago. Raided City Hall, coming out with file box on top of file box. They raided City Hall, wound up arresting the top lobbyist, a bunch of cops, a bunch of commissioners. The mayor should have been next, but they got her son, the mayor's son. Wow. It was this crazy scheme. They were using the city.
They missed me by one box.
They were using the city as a racketeering organization to shake down their most vulnerable residents. There was literally people in the water department, okay, who were extorting poor women for sex to get their water turned back on.
Oh,
and as it turns out,
that is so hot.
As it turns out, dude, that's the worst porn movie you've ever seen. Okay, but they were
sex on tap.
And most of these services they were paying the county for anyway. So it's a bullshit. The whole thing's a bullshit operation. There's this park right there between Opelika and Hialeah. I think it's just on the Hialeah side from the Opelika
battleground.
It's called Amelia Earhart Park, and they call it that because women go in there and no one ever sees them again. That's why it's actually a real park. That's not why it's called Amelia Earhart.
Really funny.
She took off from there. Actually,
he killed
I didn't say anything because my face was in shock.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Hialeah, bro.
Awesome.
Hialeah, bro. Super nice out today, bro.
It's super, bro.
Super, bro.
For truth, bro. For serious.
Seriously, bro. Sell me that Caprice Classic, bro.
I speak fluent West Kendall, bro.
West Kendall, bro.
Pero like, bro, we're gonna get the salmon. We eat some salmon, bro.
What's the best is when I'm down there, you can get that Hialeah accent.
Yeah.
So when you meet a girl, you see she's hot, but the minute she's like, "Oh my God, it's super nice out," I'm like, "Oh, we're going to Applebee's. We're going to Applebee's." I'm not
Flanagan's.
I'm not taking a SLS.
Or a nice place like Flanagan's.
Yeah,
it's too nice.
I mean, I don't know. She better be hot.
You make that call instantly on the accent. That's brilliant.
In Miami, bro is like punctuation.
Yeah.
Right. So if you say a sentence, you got to end it in a period. Right. So.
Yeah.
I saw that movie, bro. And then if you're gonna ask a question, you know how there's an upside down question mark that you got to say it. You go, bro, what the fuck, bro? You have to say it on both or an exclamation. Right? Bro, watch out, bro. You got to do the upside down exclamation point and the regular exclamation point with bro on either side. That's how we do it.
And you'll drive down the street in that area, man, in Hialeah, and you'll see a straight Bentley in front of a house with gates. like a little pink house with 2 roosters in the front,
No yard.
and a 4-foot fence
Right.
surrounding a Bentley.
Wow. And
Like it's for real, and with state-of-the-art cameras.
so they've had
Shout out to
several-
Junito. What's up, baby?
they've had several indicted mayors in the city, the great city of Hialeah, city of progress, they call it. It's also, I think it is the city in the country with the highest percentage of Spanish-speaking homes. Like Spanish is in over 90% of homes, Spanish is the primary language being spoken in Hialeah. They also have it's baffling. They're the only city that's not on kind of they're one of the few cities, not the only, that is not on the grid system that we have there with numbers that make sense and avenues and streets, right? They have so this is it's northwest 103rd Street, west 49th Street, and Officer such and such Memorial Drive. I'm like, everything. It's baffling. Everything I say, it's like the U2 song where the streets have 3 names. It's it's so fucking confusing. So Raul Martinez, 100 years ago, he helped write the city charter for Hialeah. He gets arrested on corruption charges.
Shocking. That was a shocker.
He's convicted, and he's appealing his conviction. While on appeal, he runs and gets reelected for mayor again. And listen, what do they say? In a democracy, people get the government they deserve. So he gets reelected again, then acquitted, and it's overturned. It was this huge scandal. So then they elect this other guy, this mayor, who gets arrested and indicted because he is a loan shark. He is in what they call the shadow banking world, which is where he does private loans to people and charges a 36% VIG.
In Cuba, Cubans call it algarrote. That's the name for it. Algarrote. Yeah. Algarrote means loaning with a gun in your hand.
Really?
Yeah.
And so he gets arrested for it. They
Shout out to Julio. Good job, baby.
They call on the
Be on the next flight.
So the current, he was the former mayor. The current mayor, it turns out, the Miami Herald does a story. He is also a shadow banking loan shark.
Alleged.
Okay. No, so
he's my cousin's friend.
So he he is for a fact. So he denies it and denounces the Herald on Spanish radio, fake news. Okay.
Spanish radio, by the way, is 100% fake news.
It's insane.
They say whatever they want.
It's crazy shit. Crazy shit.
And
then
it's not regulated.
Right.
None of the regulators know what the fuck they're talking about because they're not even speaking Spanish. They're speaking old street Cuban.
Dirty street
And then
Spanish.
they'll go tell the English media something totally different.
Yeah.
Now to this guy's to this guy's credit, he called a press conference with the English and Spanish press and denounced the Herald's reporting as total lies and bullshit. Okay? In both English and Spanish to the press, okay? He told the same, to his credit, he told the same story to both, right? And then he gets called to testify. It's subpoenaed in the old mayor's shadow banking trial. So now he's under oath in a federal trial. And they ask him about his shadow banking activities. And he goes, oh, yeah, I did that shit. Yeah. Admits, has to, because he doesn't want to perjure himself, totally admits to everything.
Right.
Okay, about it. So the Herald feels like it's a year later. They're like, we're vindicated, obviously. This guy went. So somebody files a complaint with the Miami-Dade Ethics Commission. Right. Because he went and had this press conference where he lied. Yeah. They nail him. They said he absolutely violated ethics. He has to pay a fine. But he has to pay 2 fines. Because he lied in English and in Spanish.
Oh my God,
okay?
bro!
And then this piece of shit, your friend's cousin or whatever. Okay, everybody's a friend's cousin, and everybody's got a cousin in Miami. Didn't Jimmy Buffett sing that song? All right, pero like this como mierda. Okay, this guy, okay, who got totally lied, total garbage person, goes to pay his $1,000, whatever, $3,000 fine, because it was double, remember, because English, and Inglés y Español. He goes to pay it with buckets of pennies. Delivers buckets of pennies.
Perfect.
Like just.
Here you go, bro.
Listen, people get,
You go, bro.
there's a line. We have a play right now playing in Miami Beach at the Colony Theater called Confessions of a Cocaine Cowboy.
Yes.
And there's a line in it where, because a lot of it is about this sort of interscene Hispanic racism and about the tribalism, particularly in Hispanic communities in Miami or wherever there are different nationalities. Because that's the thing in the Cubans when you grow up in Miami, I'll say, you know the difference.
Right.
There's not everybody like in Middle America. They just like, Cubans are just Miami Mexicans. You know, like that's how they feel about it. You know, it's just, you're either Hispanic or Latin or not. But like in Miami, there's really no such thing as Hispanic people. I'm sorry, it's not that there's no such thing as that they don't want to be identified as Hispanic. They want to be identified by, rightfully so, their nation of origin. There's a lot of pride, a lot of nationalism, and so like I always say, if you're going to get into a road rage incident in Miami, see which flag's hanging from the rear view mirror first, okay? And we self-segregate. We have, even in North Beach, you drive through, there's block by block. There's like a Venezuelan flag, an Argentinian flag, a Brazilian flag. Like they kind of rep each block.
Those
and then
Brazilian
of course,
girls are fucking hot.
I'm sensing a theme here.
God, I want to go to Miami right now.
But they, let's go. I'm going tonight.
I want to cheat on everybody right now.
Let's go. But
safe to say, just put this country, they are hot. Right?
We had this Colombian. Beautiful women, by the way. Yeah, so we have Jorge Riviallo, the hitman from Cocaine Cowboys. He's the main character in this play, Confessions of a Cocaine Cowboy, and he's arguing like the whole play with this Cuban cop. And at one point, they're just needling each other. And it's sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's dark. And at some point, he says, the Colombian says to the Cuban cop, he says, Miami is proof that Cubans wouldn't know what to do with democracy if they had it.
Wow.
Exactly.
Nice.
We don't understand it.
So
we don't.
You've never met a strong man you don't like.
No, I mean it's unbelievable, and you're joking about it, but the Cuban culture pivots towards dictatorship.
Unquestionably.
Just in your DNA, it dictates to, all right, that's the strong guy. Mm-hmm. He'll keep us safe.
Strict father.
It's literally in our, and I think that's one of the
so you want to escape that, but you also feel the comfort of that.
The only reason that the Cubans, and Cubans don't like to talk about this, but the only reason that we left Cuba is because we weren't able to hustle anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they took your money.
They took our money. But before Fidel, under Batista and before that, Cuba, you can't understand how scammy it was. It took the mob years to even figure out what the fuck was going on down there. Wow. You'd build a hotel and there'd be 12 Cubans living in a room. You're like, where the fuck did you people come from?
How do we get these
It's kind of like that.
Welcome to Cuba, bro.
It's like that in Miami now too.
Yeah, exactly, bro. I was in Hialeah, right? So I like to hang out in Hialeah. Number one, because you can eat for $1. Like homemade food for $1. It's literally.
It's probably some of the best stuff you'll ever eat.
And what's
too,
happening?
right?
What's happening there is there's a beautiful fusion. And if you ever want to see what the prominent culture is anywhere, you go to these little open window bodega / restaurants, right, where you just sit outside and get a coffee, and you're watching them morph from Cuban traditional food into Guatemalan and Honduran food, and it's creating this beautiful fusion of Latin food that's unspoken anywhere. But in Hialeah, you're starting to get this amazing mix between Caribbean and Haitian, and it's just
honestly, the culinary culture in Miami is probably the best and
if you like
least
flavor,
toxic culture that we have in Miami.
Sure.
The truth.
So what I was saying is you start to see this. You start to see this transition, like, but it's still inherently crazy. Like I was crossing the street, and they had a police guy on a motorcycle. The guy gets a big guy, blonde hair. Big fucking cop, and this hot girl's crossing the street, and all of a sudden, like in Spanish, she's like, "Coño, tú estás buena." I'm like, what the fuck? He's hitting on the fucking girl straight up in Spanish.
Beautiful.
No one speaks English there.
Right.
Have you ever heard a cop talk to anyone in English in Hialeah?
Oh, hell no.
Only when the feds come.
Right.
You see, you're in Hialeah.
No.
I'm eating ice cream in Hialeah. I see a bike. I'm like, 5-0.
No, especially when the feds come. No hablo inglés.
Everybody turns into first day immigrants.
Of course.
¿Quién, yo? Yo no sé nada.
So Billy. Me llamo Steven. ¿Dónde está Julio? I don't know.
Julio muerto.
No. ¿Dónde está Steven?
Yeah.
Esteban? No, Steven.
So Billy just went off on an amazing tangent. I don't know what that has to do with dog fighting. fight, but I love the hell out of it. I guess what you're trying to say is you show other parts of Miami instead of instead of romanticizing it like.
Sure, yeah, that. Let's go back to the dumpling mannequin guy.
It was amazing.
The only thing that can make that dumpling mannequin guy story more Florida is if they were like gator dumplings that he shoved in his mom's mouth because she wouldn't dress his mannequin.
All right, now that you went back there, now I'm going to do this. And we got to get to Screwball because it's a great documentary. I want to make sure people go and check it out. But so you do these stories on your Twitter, and it's like only in Florida. What's the tagline again? Because Florida. That's right. I should know that.
Yeah, what was the other day? It was why did the naked Florida woman cross the road?
Yeah.
Because Florida. In this video, some ladies crossing I-95 naked for some reason. I don't know.
The great about Florida is no one asked for the backstory.
Right.
Like, she crossed the street, like, oh, glad she made it.
Because there usually isn't.
Well, that goes back to the mannequin story because people just said, because Florida. They didn't need to know anything about the mannequin.
And Screwball is a perfect example of it often doesn't make any sense.
Right.
People's motivations are inexplicable.
Yeah.
The decisions they make are bizarre and arguably against their own self-interest. Like, there's some of these stories don't make sense because they don't make sense.
Right.
And Florida has zero, like the public for the most part in Florida, in South Florida, has zero appetite for explanations. They're like, oh, there was an alligator in the school. All right, well, did they get it?
And nothing.
I love that about the place.
Yeah.
That they don't need the backstory.
But nothing's particularly surprising. That's the thing. I say, Florida rarely shocks me, but regularly disappoints me.
So, do you sell the Because Florida T-shirts?
No, I probably should.
What's
right?
wrong with you?
I should. It's a whole sentence. It's a whole explanation. It's a way of life.
So maybe you don't need money because that's a no-brainer. But
they should have never gave Billy money.
So anyway,
just shoot us off that couch.
Exactly.
So the other thing about you that leads to Screwball, when I heard about you and your documentaries and you're obsessed with Florida and I love it. I remember asking you on the radio, like, why don't you do other documentaries from other places, other cities and whatnot? I don't ask that question anymore because there's still plenty of material in Florida. I finally get that.
On Twitter, I'm limited to 240 characters.
Right.
In Florida, there's unlimited characters.
You don't need to go anywhere else yet. There's still too much going on there that you still want to make documentaries about. And it leads to Screwball, which is just such a great documentary on the whole steroid scandal and biogenesis and Tony Bosch and the movie, the documentary plays like a Three Stooges movie, right? In a way.
Little Rascals, I think.
Little Rascals /
Our
Three
gang.
Stooges. It's just that mind-boggling on that level.
There's a great line in it because here's the thing about the biogenesis steroid scandal. Anybody who knows what that means immediately thinks Arod. You go to Alex Rodriguez. He was certainly the highest profile player that was involved in that scandal, and he actually is the one that kept it alive for a while because he's the only player that ultimately appealed his suspension. And why not? He got the longest suspension in the history of the game, so I guess he figured, what the hell do I have to lose?
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that the story is not about Alex Rodriguez.
No.
Don't tell him that. Right. He doesn't want to hear about anything that's not about him. He's so vain he probably thinks this podcast is about him.
Jennifer, come in here, listen to this.
So yeah, you know me with my contemporary pop culture references, like Carly Simon. So we when you really dig down into it, what it's ultimately about is that the career of the highest paid baseball player of all time was effectively ended over a $4,000 debt between a cocaine-addicted fake doctor and his fake tan-addicted steroid patient, because Florida. And it's a zany, like Elmore Leonard, Carl Hyacin, Coen Brothers-esque Florida fuckery tale.
Right. Yeah.
It is freebasing Florida fuckery. Right. It is just 100% pure Florida fuckery.
And what I love about Screwball is it shows why people act like, because I'm in Florida and Miami a lot, right? And
yeah, we only see each other in New York.
We only see each other in New York. Is that weird? He knows to steer clear from me. I'm like, I'm at the Deuce. He's like, that was 3 days ago, bro. I'm like, is this my mom? Yeah. No, this is like, Billy, dude.
He's like, I'm like, you're still at the Deuce. You don't have hepatitis A through Z yet. You're still waiting on the last few.
I'm like, Billy, come see me. He's like, did you just throw up?
Oh my God, dude, you're gonna love this. I'm sorry, I have to tell you this. Speaking of throwing up at the Deuce, everybody has that story in Miami. The Deuce is, of course, the oldest now because Tobacco Road is the oldest bar in Miami-Dade now, and so. Last night we had a sneak preview of Screwball at the Cinema Village in New York, and I do a Q&A afterwards. Lights come up. This dude, like halfway back in the house, is wearing a Max Deuce shirt.
That's awesome.
In New York. I'm like, dude, is that a dude? I was like, that's nuts. I thought that was amazing. Yeah, it's like because it's a place. Listen, it's a place you have to go.
Max Deuce is one of the. It's literally the most democratic place in Miami because it's so old school, and they don't give a fuck.
Right.
So we were there the other day, and this guy lights up a cigar, right? And you're not really supposed to smoke a cigar. You can smoke cigarettes, but not a cigar. Pipe sometimes. So everyone's like, yo, shut that shit off, bro. It's 9 a.m. Like, fucking go outside with that fucking thing.
Right. It's 9 a.m. You're the Deuce.
I've been there. I was there for hours.
Jesus. Oh, yeah. Carl's thinking like, well, it's 10 a.m. somewhere. Let's have a drink.
I have a food event at 11. I mean, how else am I going to get something to drink?
Good point.
I should be like, today we're going to make empanadas.
It's the Deuce brunch.
Bro, we're making empanadas, bro. Super nice.
It's super nice. Bro.
So I'm sitting there, and the bartender goes, hey, Food Network. He looks at me. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, is that a good cigar? I'm like, nope. Shut that fucking cigar off.
Wow.
That was it.
And that was it.
Yeah, they'll throw you out. They don't give a shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's also, and the bartenders don't give a fuck.
Right.
This guy shows up with his wife, with the camera around his neck, with the little cargo pants. The guy, two good people from Montreal that are down in Florida, not bothering anybody. They walk in, the guy goes, hey, gay night's tomorrow. I think the guy said it with his wife.
These poor folks. They just wanted to see what the Deuce was all about.
Very good. For fuck's sakes, the Deuce.
A little Canadian now. So,
that's funny.
How did this come about that you were able to get Tony Bosch onto this project?
He called us.
He called you guys.
He called, listen, as my producing partner Alfred Spellman says, in Florida, when you get released from prison, your first call is to your mother. Your second call is to us at Rack and Tour.
Wow.
So it's funny because it's true. This guy actually, this was the reverse, though. He called us on his way to prison, actually.
Wow.
And he had reached out and said he was interested in doing a documentary and wanted to talk to us about it.
Did you reach out to him initially? Or?
Who, us?
Yeah.
Never.
So Tony just calls
No,
you guys.
Listen, when a story breaks or we hear about something, we add it to our database of Florida fuckery. We have a Google spreadsheet shared in the office of stories that we just add things to. Now, when the biogenesis story broke, that was 2013. Very fresh wound. You have to wait for, if you're not doing a verite doc like Dogfight, where you're following people around. Yeah. If you want to do a historical documentary about shit that happened in the past, you got to wait for it to ripen. Right. And what I mean by that is, if it's a fresh wound, you don't necessarily have people who are ready to talk on camera about it.
They're scared.
Right. They're not willing to be, they're scared to be candid about it. They feel like, and so not to mention it helps to have some hindsight, and to be able to assess, look back on a situation, and especially a situation like this where people were scared and what do they say, comedy is tragedy plus time. Right. That's kind of how this worked here. But we thought it was too fresh. We added it to our list and didn't think about it at the beginning of 2013. Then in November of 2013, I get a call from a guy who I know from University of Miami, kind of like alumni circles, and he is a publicist for one Alex Rodriguez. And he says, we are in the midst of the arbitration in New York, and we're going to have a break, and Alex is coming back home to Miami, and he has an office in Coral Gables, which is this very affluent municipality adjacent to the city of Miami, which is actually the home of the University of Miami. It's not in the city of Miami, it's in the city of Coral Gables, and home of Alex Rodriguez Field, of course. And so he says, Alex Rodriguez would like to meet with you and your producing partner, Alfred, to discuss the possibility of doing a tell-all documentary.
Wow.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you didn't buy it, though,
I was like, I'm in. I'm like,
yeah.
let's meet.
Did you believe it, though?
Believe what?
Arod?
No.
Okay, good.
Listen. I make documentaries for a
We're
living.
New Yorkers. We know this.
I'm
A-Rod
used
guy.
to people lying to me.
Okay, good.
I'm making documentaries for a living. So we take the meeting though. So I think it's going to be like in his office. Like this is like a secret meeting, right, with Arod in the midst of this very high profile battle of legacies with Bud Selig in Major League Baseball. And so they say, no, we're not going to go to the office. Meet us for lunch on a weekday. High noon at Hillstone Restaurant, which is, if there is a power lunch spot in Coral Gables, this is the power lunch spot in Coral Gables on the most prominent corner of the city, Miracle Mile and Ponce de Leon Boulevard.
The place to be seen.
It is the place to be
seen. This is where
seen.
Kim Kardashian.
The only place without bongo drums is the core.
It's actually true. In Coral Gables.
Coral Gables.
Yeah.
That's like our Beverly Hills.
It's like a city like there would not be a Coral Gables if there wasn't Medicare fraud. I'll just put it to you that way. Is what
Coral
every
Gables
time I'm in there.
It's so expensive. Like the Cuban sandwiches are $9 there.
Yeah. Hialeah, they're $1. Yeah. But you pay in pennies in Hialeah. But good call back there. Thank you for setting me up.
You could
for
use
that.
Cuban money, I think.
Yeah,
Still.
absolutely. A wheelbarrow of it, in fact, you'd have to pay for a Cuban sandwich. But
Hillstone Restaurant.
Hillstone, and so here's the thing: the windows, outside, floor to ceiling, like no curtains, open kitchen, so everybody from the street to the dishwashers can see everything happening in this dining room. Every seat is taken. There's a mob around the host stand, 4 deep at the bar, and we are escorted down the middle aisle. Now, here's the thing. The proximity to UM is important because if you've seen the 30 for 30s like on ESPN, they really fetishize the directors on of the 30 for 30, like directed by, and then they put us on camera to do little interview bumpers, at every hour, and so during the films, and so if there's any place that I'm going to be recognized in the world, it's in Coral Gables, right by the University of Miami, by some,
That's like me at a hot dog stand. They're like, oh, it's a Cuban Ruiz. Oh my God.
So we get escorted down this middle aisle, and we get to the middle. The back wall has the booths.
Right.
The middle booth, holding court, is Alex Rodriguez, publicist and friends. And we had to step up on the platform onto this stage, and we got introductions all around. My back is to the crowd. Alex is facing the crowd.
Of course.
I can feel every eye in this place on me. I'm like the back of my neck. You could feel it, And so
You were being used.
yeah, so
I'm jumping ahead here.
my icebreaker
Yeah, go ahead.
is who's going to call page 6?
There
you
you
or
go,
us?
okay.
Only the publicist laughed.
Right.
It's kind of a publicist joke. So I and sure as shit 2 weeks later, week later it was in page 6.
So what was the motivation from their side?
It was part of Alex's PR offensive against Major League Baseball. At the time, they were just kind of throwing whatever they could up against the wall. He sat there for an hour and a half and just lied to us. I never knew Tony Bosch. I never took any performance-enhancing drugs. I didn't know anything about,
So his angle's like, look at what I'm doing, Major League Baseball. I'm gonna tell all here.
Oh, yeah.
And that was supposed to make them a little nervous.
Oh,
because he was fighting for his legacy at this point.
His angle was kitchen sink. I mean, they were just doing anything and everything they could to discourage this process. He spent millions of dollars. Baseball spent that much more.
Right.
Okay, and they were just locked in this. Bud Selig was the steroid commissioner.
Right.
He, in my opinion, knowingly exploited and profited from the steroid era of baseball.
Thank you. This is what drives me nuts about the steroids in baseball. Everyone knew. So when the writers don't vote someone into the Hall of Fame, I'm like, you're full of shit. You knew what was going on, and all the players around knew what
these guys,
everybody knew.
These little twigs turned into the fucking Lou Ferrigno overnight, and everybody knew. They were smacking balls to Guantanamo. These baseball monsters.
I say this: you let them all in because you all fucking knew, and you didn't do anything about it. At the
Sammy
time.
Sosa was 13 feet tall,
and they right. And let me tell you something: the strike in 1994, I think, right? That's what brought everyone back to watching baseball. We were done. People forget we were done with
America's
baseball in
pastime
general.
was dead.
And then Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa turned into two monsters, and they're going for like 70 home runs. It brought everyone back, and then to turn your back on those guys that saved your sport and say you can't be in the Hall of Fame. Go
Dude.
fuck yourselves.
Yeah.
Everyone knew, including Bud Selig.
I'm sorry. Can we talk about the cesspool that is the Baseball Hall of Fame anyway? These guys are not the worst offenders that they have.
Right.
You've got guys who literally wouldn't take the field with black players, including the commissioner, the segregationist commissioner who enforced that policy for decades.
Right.
Like they're garbage people in the Hall of Fame. Right. These are not the worst. God knows Alex Rodriguez or even Sammy Sosa, Mark Aguirre are not the worst offenders, particularly when everybody knew what was happening and everybody benefited from what was happening. And so that's the bottom line, is that with this biogenesis story broke in 2013, here's my theory. Major League Baseball, like almost everything else in America, especially our politics, has turned into the WWE.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? So Vince McMahon,
Right.
Bud Selig, literally on the eve of his retirement in 2013, this scandal breaks. He goes to his second in command, Rob Manfred, and he says, dude, we need to look like we're doing something like seriously about this. So what bigger scalp could you take down on the way out your door to prove that once and for all that you cracked down and did something about steroids in Major League Baseball than taking down one of the greatest of all time?
Yeah.
You know,
But unlikable at the same time.
Miraculously.
And they took advantage of that.
Well, they thought it'd be an easy takedown because when
No one liked him.
when
Absolutely.
when he was still playing, when he was supposed to be suspended, they were headhunting Arod, and everyone was loving it because a lot of people outside New York certainly did not like Arod.
So they nail him. They suspend him for an entire season.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
He's like, fuck that. He puts on his baseball uniform.
goes right back.
And goes right on the field.
he did. God bless him. God bless him.
He's like, oh, yeah, fine, but I'm fighting this, and I'm playing tonight.
Yeah.
And then who was it that headhunted him? It's in the movie.
Dempster.
Who was it?
Ryan Dempster? That's funny.
Yeah, A-Rod got to bat, and they went headhunting.
There was a couple guys that were they were gunning
anyway,
for him.
sorry.
No, they were gunning for him. By that point.
But it goes to your point. Bud Selig's like, look, most people don't like this guy anyway. I could save.
He's the villain. He's the heel.
Yeah,
it's the WWE dude.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's what it is. I mean, he's the heel. He nails him. He rides off into the sunset. His second in command, Rob Manfred, who oversaw this whole ridiculous, arguably illegal investigation into this scandal in Miami. Of course, he ascends to the throne. He's now the Vince McMahon of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, he is.
And everybody knows what are some of the best storylines in wrestling. It's when the heel becomes the hero.
Right.
And so what does he do? He brings back Arod and Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose himself, to be commentators, and they were sensational. They were great. Now, of course, Pete Rose is banned from baseball again, his second lifetime ban from baseball. But Alex is still there, and he's outstanding in that job. He really genuinely is. And somehow we live in the upside down place anyway now. You know, where white is black and black is white and left is right and right is left and up is down and down is up. And we love A-Rod and we hate Jeter. How the fuck did that happen?
I don't know.
When did that happen? It was the exact opposite when they were playing the game.
Of course.
Biracial angel.
So the biogenesis thing.
Biracial angel.
I don't want to give away the movie, but there's a couple things I do want to say. Screwball, you use kids to reenact all the players in your movie, which I thought was brilliant.
That's awesome.
And they were very funny.
Thank you.
And they know how to act. I thought that was a great angle, by the way. But you got to talk about Tony Bosch a little bit. I don't think that gives away the
Florida
movie.
man.
Florida man, but his history and how he got his degree in Belize, and his father was a doctor. Can you go into that a little bit?
Was he
Fascinating.
married? He was married to Marie? Marie's father? Fucking ass.
This guy.
He didn't want to put in the work. Everyone else in his family were doctors, and he wanted to take the shortcut. He wanted to party, and he liked this cocaine. He's in Miami and stuff. So
when his family moved from Cuba, his parents were doctors there before the revolution, and they moved to New York at first. He was a Mets fan growing up, and in fact, when he started in the shall we say the medicine business or the medical business in Miami, he had a corporate softball team called the Meds, and it had the Mets logo, but it was the Meds. You actually see the jersey. There's a quick shot of the jersey in the documentary, Meds. And so I want a Meds jersey. I really do. But then they moved down to Miami when he was very young. He wound up at Columbus, there's only a handful of high schools that sort of the Cuban community gravitates
Columbus is awesome,
towards.
bro.
Yeah, dale. So they, I don't actually know what that means, but we say
that actually means dale means to fuck her.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
I didn't
Dale,
know.
hit it.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Now I got to stop saying that. It's inappropriate.
Not in Hialeah, it's not.
It's true.
You go to the cop, dale, it's like dale.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you go to the health food restaurant in Hialeah. You order kale. That's what they. Kale salad, please.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, kale salad.
Kale.
It's kale. I'm like, no, we pronounce it kale. That's how we pronounce it.
My mother, the first time my brother tried to like take her to a fancy restaurant in Coral Gables, and they had kale there, and my mom was like, "We eat that now?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mom." She's like, "Seriously?"
Borscht. We eat borscht.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. The Cubans, they don't eat any fucking greens.
Yeah, like I think that's gone bad. Why? Well, it's turned green. For Christ's
What
sake.
people don't realize is in Cuba, we sacrifice all the land for either sugar or tobacco. So that if you were growing salad, they would rip it out of the fucking ground and put sugar cane there.
Or as Cubans call it, all the food groups.
Yeah.
Sugar and tobacco.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
They say in Cuba, if a lobster were to walk down the street, no one would know what the fuck it was. No kidding. It's a culture. There's 3 people that fish. Imagine how.
No one fishes in Cuba.
Look about this. Just give me an idea of how backwards Cubans are. In Cuba, they try to act like they come from high society.
Yeah.
It's the Alabama of the Caribbean, right?
God.
You have all the water streams that run around Cuba have every fish on the planet. We only eat red snapper because it's the easiest one to catch. It literally jumps on the boat, right? And the most famous Cuban soup that they consider seafood is turtle. Turtle. I'm not lying.
You know, because they're the slowest ones to catch.
Why don't they fish? Is there a backstory to that?
Lazy.
No.
Takes all day. Takes all fucking day.
What else you got to do
It's
down
hot
there?
too. It's really hot.
It's hot.
It's really
Yeah.
hot.
All right. So
Yeah. So Tony Bosch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love this guy, by the way. I fell in love with him
He's
watching the documentary. I want to hang with this guy. He's cool.
pretty quintessential Miami character too.
Right.
You'll come down. We'll go to Deuce.
We'll go to the Deuce.
Yeah.
He seems like he's really cool, man.
Yeah, you're gonna smell like an ashtray's asshole when you go at the Deuce. But they don't allow cigar smoking in there.
Cheap cigar
smoking.
Only
Right.
in Miami.
I love it. So his parents, both mother and father, are real doctors. In Miami, you have to say that.
Yeah.
Pero real doctors?
Real
Yeah,
doctors?
they're real. Yeah, right.
With an office and a car?
Every time they get busted, like every time in Hialeah or like Little Havana, they're like, like breaking news, fake doctor found in Hialeah, fake doctor found in Little Havana or South Miami. I'm always like, that's not news. News would be real doctor found in Hialeah. That would be news.
Do you know how many people die in Hialeah from fucking fake plastic surgeons? You have it's unbelievable.
Well,
you're like, yo, what happened to that girl? Silicone butt. She just died of a heart attack.
Well, speaking of fake doctors, you told a story about your mom where she was like sort of doing some stuff.
My mother was a felon. See what happened? Not
My
really.
mom was a felon.
No. But what happened is my brother, cardiothoracic surgeon, real doctor, right?
Yes.
And he kept giving my mom samples of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, Mom, listen, if you have this, just take these. Because all the the reps would give them, and she'd give my mom samples. My brother gets there. Me and my brother get there. She's running a full-blown clinic in Sunny Isles. Like, people would come like, my knee hurts. Take 6 of these. I'm like, Mom, his eyes are bleeding. Mom, you killed him.
With the samples?
With the samples. My brother comes and goes, hey, Ma, I went to Harvard. I'm about to lose my license. Give me all the fucking samples. What's wrong with you? That was... So my brother was that's Miami.
Kind of running a clinic.
It's Miami.
Yeah.
She's doing Brazilian bootleg Brazilian butt lifts
implants
with Fix-A-Flat. And,
My brother would literally land in Miami. We'd get to my mother's condo, and there would be people in the living room. My mother would set up visitations to see my brother. My brother's just here to see my mother. Like, hey, Ma, what's up? And there's 6 fucking Cubans with their x-rays and everything from their doctor to get my brother's second opinion. The best one is this guy comes and he had something in his lung or something. So my brother, literally, I'm standing there, he puts the x-ray up to the thing. He goes, 6 months, if that. You're out of here, man. My brother has the bedside manner of a shotgun. Cardiothoracic surgeon, Harvard trained. Like, he's like, 6 months. So the guy goes, de verdad, which means really in Spanish. He goes, yes, de verdad. You're out. That's it. Just go say bye to everybody. And gives him the x-ray back. So I look at my brother and goes, oh, man, that was fun. I go, George, is it really 6 months? He goes, a year.
but didn't even break a sweat.
Didn't even break a sweat. So, and that really, after that happened, the visitation kind of cleared out a little bit. People didn't like it.
But anyway, Tony Bosch is in that world with the fake doctors.
Right.
And his dad's cousin. They have a very famous last name down there, Bosch. No relation to the basketball player, Chris Bosch, but they have a C in their name. And so Chris Bosch, Tony Bosch, his father, Pedro Bosch, his cousin is Orlando Bosch. It's like Jewish geography without the Jews we do in Miami. You know, in the Cuban community, it's not 6 degrees of separation. It's like 1 y 2 degree. Like everybody knows each other. Especially if you grew up in Miami in the 80s. There's like Pedro Gomez says it in the movie. It's a very tight knit. It's a small town. It really is. Yeah. And so Orlando Bosch is one of the most famous and notorious anti-Castro Cuban exile terrorists in Miami. His most famous incident was in the late 1970s. He stood on the MacArthur Causeway, which bridges the gap between the bay between the city of Miami and Miami Beach, and it's right where the port of Miami is. And he put a bazooka on his shoulder and fired a fucking missile across government cut, what we call it, at a Polish freighter because comunista, and fortunately, it didn't arm, like the missile didn't arm, so it just, boom, hit the side of the hull of the boat and just rolled down the fucking hull into the water, but it couldn't. Boom.
Viva la revolución! Boom.
Oh, that sucks, bro.
Libertad! Libertad! Oh, cheap, bro. Boom. Oh, that didn't work, bro.
That's a dud, bro.
That's what happens when you buy a bazooka in Hialeah.
Rented it. He rented it.
With a coat.
He had a coat.
He rented the bazooka.
It's for a religious ceremony, bro.
He was on the fucking causeway with the bazooka on his shoulder and a goat on a leash.
Going to a church.
Vamos, Enrique, let's run.
What the fuck? Shut up, goat. Cállate la boca,
Shut up, bro, goat.
Cállate la boca. No.
We are a piece of shit.
I'm gonna get tarred and feathered and tossed into the bay when I get.
You know what? Cubans get it, man. We get it.
Honestly, I don't know that I always get that Cuban sense of humor. You watch Cuban television, a lot of blackface. There's a guy dressed as a bumblebee. Oh wait, he's Mexican.
Oh, Cubans have no racial boundaries. Yeah. They say, I mean, everything. You know, like in Cuba. If we don't understand math, we call it Chinese math. Because when the Chinese say, so like anything that Cubans don't understand, they put the word Chinese in front of it, right? Or if you're like a smart guy, they go, oye, Chino, hey, China. Because when the Chinese came to Cuba to build the railroads, they knew how to add in shit, and they did everything. For example, the Cuban roasting box. Cajachina. Because when the Chinese came to Cuba, they were roasting ducks and all that shit in this box. And the Cubans looked at it and goes, that's a Chinese box.
By the way,
they couldn't even figure out the science on it.
Cajachina, also the name of my favorite Asian massage parlor in Hialeah.
What up?
Robert Kraft in the house.
That leads to Arod, too.
I heard he's got a hammer.
Who?
Kraft? On the video, yeah.
Good for Kraft.
Yeah. Breaking news.
Listen, Patriots, they're all about draining balls.
Nice.
I'm sorry, was that low-hanging fruit? Robert Kraft. He's like 963 years old. I'm guessing that fruit is really
low-hanging. Did you see the reports? Like when I was listening to Robert Kraft comment, one day he came in a white Bentley, one day he came in a blue Bentley. How many fucking Bentleys does he have?
Red, white, and blue, baby. America. He's MAGA, bro. MAGA, bro. We're going to make A-Rod great again. That's what we're going to do.
Fucking A-Rod.
All right, they're telling me you only have 10 minutes, and I want to...
10 minutos.
Yeah, so...
hurry up, bro.
So Tony Bosch does become a full-fledged doctor.
Sure he does. He decides that he wants to follow in his parents' footsteps and go into medicine.
Yeah.
I use medicine in air quotes and medicine, and he decides to go to medical school that one of the interview subjects refers to as the Belize School of the Medical and Performing Arts down in Belize because it was the only English-speaking South American country that he could go to and get into the medical school, which I think required a deposit. I think that's what they required to get. That was the prerequisite to get into cash. You have cash? Yes. Welcome. Bienvenidos. So he goes to medical school, so to speak, and comes back to Miami and opens an anti-aging clinic, which is a movement that exploded in the early zeros in Florida, which is appropriate when you consider the legend of Florida is that the Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon discovered the state while on the search for the mythical fountain of youth.
Right.
And so we have this anti-aging clinic movement that opens, which is a total gray market.
Right.
Total gray area. Which is a lot of the economy in Miami is a gray market economy. Right. And so what they do is that you have an entrepreneur like a medical entrepreneur like Tony Bosch, who opens up a clinic, quote unquote, just kind of throws a sign out front that says clinic, and they will get a real doctor, because there's a lot of doctors that retire to Florida who have a prescription pad, who have a DEA number. And so I know an older doctor who his fax machine at work used to fax like anti-aging clinics would just randomly fax doctors saying, would you like to make some extra money on the side, become the medical director of our facility? Wow. They would kind of spam the fax machines of legit doctors and looking for, just kind of fishing for prey. And so then they would make them the quote medical doctor, the medical director of the clinic, right, which basically just meant they were renting their prescription pad. Right. And you had people who were not licensed physicians or really qualified necessarily to writing prescriptions.
That's every day.
Every day.
Fucking brilliant.
But when I'm in Miami, I get IVs, right? Like every morning I wake up and I go straight to the IV clinic to get an IV because I've been drinking a lot. All right. Stuff.
Yeah. And you have the B12.
So you go there and you sit in the lobby and they give
it's
you.
the only way he gets water.
They give me. No, I fell in the ocean once. They bring in an iPad with a doctor on the iPad, Cuban lady. And she's like, "Hey, bro, do you have any like pre-existing conditions?" I'm like, "I'm a rabbit. I'm all fucked up." They're like, "Perfect. He's good." And then they put the IV on me, and I'm there for an hour. And I come out perfect.
Detoxify. Yeah, it's
and
great.
it's a doctor just looks at me on the screen for 2 seconds.
They used to have, I don't know if they still have it, they used to have a mobile one.
Yeah,
like
but I like
a hangover mobile.
I go there because they have the massage chairs and the air conditioner is super cold, so I take a little nap.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know how to do Miami, dude.
I do. I am Miami.
Carl's all about Miami. I avoid it. He invites me down every year, and I'm like, I'm busy.
You should go.
That place scares the fuck out of me.
He's a Boca guy. He's a Boca guy.
Oh, totally.
Relax.
He's a Boca guy.
Relax.
Yeah. Lovey.
Back nine.
Yeah, he's the.
Yeah. Look at my barrels. Yeah, I'm a Boca guy.
That's how they look at that. There's some
really?
Undercover rich in Boca.
But I didn't know that scam was going on where they're using doctors' script pads.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
then it led to they were using a dead doctor's script pad.
Oh yeah, he was using a dead doctor's script pad.
That's not even news in Florida, bro.
And then the supply cannot meet the demand, so he finds a Brazilian dude in West Kendall who's cooking up testosterone and HGH in his garage, and he starts buying the black market shit to sell to his clients.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great Miami hustle, really a quintessential Miami hustle.
But this is the question. Major League Baseball players decide this is the guy we got to go to.
Word of mouth, man. Yeah. I mean, word of mouth, that's the thing. He wasn't doing traditional outdoor advertising, for example. He didn't have a billboard or a TV ad. It was word of mouth, and I got to tell you, he was getting results. He had clients who were true believers. You would come to him with, I want to lose weight, I want to gain muscle mass, whatever you want. He could put you on what he called a protocol. And he could make it happen. And then for the baseball players, he had a formula he called microdosing, right, and which is not an unpopular concept amongst particularly professional athletes who occasionally get drug tests sprung on them.
A newer concept too, by the way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's very simple. It's take this substance in this quantity at this time, very specific. And in the event that you are and it's within certain proximities of a game or a fight or an event or whatever it may be, and you won't piss dirty is the claim.
Right.
And a gaggle of his clients did piss dirty. Either he claims that they didn't follow his instructions to the T, or they were on some other shit. They had another guy, that they were going to, which is perfectly conceivable. The last major baseball steroid scandal was the Balco scandal in the Bay Area. So it was kind of it's West Coast, East Coast, kind of bounces back and forth. Yeah. But listen, there's definitely, people ask me all the time, who's the new Tony Bosch? Like, not necessarily baseball, but in Miami, who's the new Tony Bosch? I was like, very easy to find out. Drive around South Miami, Hialeah, Little Havana, find a nondescript strip mall, let's say, or kind of like little office park. We don't have that many of those, but something like that. You'll see a very vague sign like clinic.
Right.
The window will be tinted or mirrored.
Right.
Okay. With very little signage other than that. And parked out front, you'll see a bunch of cop cars from different departments around South Florida. That's the new Tony Bosch. That's how you find them.
No kidding.
Yeah, Tony Bosch, remember, had 100 cop clients.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a cop special or something like that.
Police special.
Police special.
Cops in Florida love juicing,
but,
man.
But,
oh my God, they are monsters.
Yeah. So
and they don't enforce any legitimate kind of testing policy or discipline.
No, it's Florida.
What could go wrong? Cops on steroids.
Yeah.
Billy, do you believe they're still doing it in Major League Baseball?
No, there's no more drugs in baseball.
Opie, that's-
no more drugs in Miami either. We cleaned up everything.
Well, because I mean, since the start of baseball, the players were always trying to find an edge.
You've got I mean,
Adderall is
they're
big.
on Adderall, and they get waivers I think for Adderall. But you have like, compared to the general population, a disproportionate number of baseball players apparently have ADHD.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, but that really begs the question: what?
ADHD as you're looking at a baseball coming at you 100 miles an
Dude,
hour.
I'm sorry.
How are you in that sport if you have ADHD?
How could you play that sport for 4 hours a game with ADHD?
It's even
Okay,
better.
okay. Watching baseball gives me ADHD, dude. Okay,
Good for
baseball,
you.
or as I call it, screensaver. Baseball. It's just my producing partner is a degenerate baseball fan. He has that like MLB.com package that like on his desk during the season. It's just a never. He's got his iPad up, propped up with a baseball game on it. I'm like. Is that MLB package cheaper than Ambien? Like how do you and like less sleep eating or something or what? You know what I'm talking about, sleep eating, Carl. So
and they're so cocky because Major League Baseball refuses.
They wake up eventually.
They refuse to make these games shorter. The games are getting longer in this day and age when our attention span is whatever's on our phone at that very moment.
These Marvel movies are like 3 hours, 4 hours long.
Baseball's on its way out. It's too expensive.
Well, I don't know about that. Every year you say that, and they're setting attendance records, and I don't know.
Could be worse. Could be soccer.
So,
Oh God.
So,
You're the only Cuban I know that doesn't like soccer.
I don't like soccer. I don't like soccer. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the fans. I don't like it. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Nobody knows what's going on.
There's only like 3 guys that are really good, and everybody else kind of just follows them from one side of the field.
It's not a real sport if the clock goes up, is in my opinion. I mean, like that's the whole point of like drama and tension is a race against time. Even baseball has a clock. It's the 3 outs, and the goal of one side is to prolong it. The goal of the other side is to end it. You know,
if they could go to commercial and they don't stop the clock, it's not a
it's
sport.
No, it's not,
and
and nobody knows the rules. The refs make them up as they go along based on who puts what money in which pocket, I imagine. And then it's like, and then to boot, it's a game. It's a game of wide shots, not close-ups. Right. That's how it's not. It's a game of wide shots, not close. Even football is a game of inches. Yeah. Football is the greatest sport ever. It's chess with gladiators. I mean, I love. Yeah. And now, and we're one CBA away from like Roger Goodell. Like they open a cage and a tiger comes the fuck out in the football, and then he gives the old thumbs up or thumbs down whether or not they're going to eat the wide receiver or whatever. But like it's so fun. Football's so fun. You'll risk your brain for it. It's fine. So
but they were smart in the first place.
But like soccer, it's like a bunch of little ants running around in a big grass field, and then one of them gets the ball, right, and so they cut to him, and then he kicks it, and they cut to a wide shot again, and then another guy gets, and he kicks it to the other side. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
I went to a Red Bulls game. I went to a Red Bulls game because the tickets were like a nickel, right? So I'm like, oh fuck it, I'll go to the Red Bull game. It was just a bunch of people with air horns. They don't even know what's going on.
Vuvuzelas? Yeah,
and we don't even have the best players yet in America.
There was almost nobody on the field.
It was like 8 years ago. I don't remember when it was, but like, World Cup fever struck. And like, there was this big, I think it was the U.S. versus U.K. Right. And this was like a huge deal. It's almost a decade ago. And our office is on Lincoln Road in Miami Beach, which is a real festive spot, especially World Cup time. Everybody's sports bars, everybody's screaming, cheering. You can hear it. Our office shakes, from the screaming. So I'm like, all right, I'll get into this U.S. UK, sort of revolution, fever here. Yeah, so I go downstairs and I'm watching this game. And I'm watching this game. And I'm watching this game. And I think it's like now it's like 2-2. Which is like, I understand it's a high scoring match here. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, hockey's low scoring, but it's exciting.
You can get punched in the fucking grill.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, hockey, they have a puck, the size of a thimble, right? They have to knock around on ice, and in a net the size of like a Solo cup.
Yeah,
it's hard, and then you're on fucking ice skates for Christ's sake. The coordination
and the goalie's bigger than the net.
Soccer, they're kicking a ball the size of a baseball into a net the size of like Arod's house. It's like, how do you fucking miss? How is it such a low-scoring game? Because they're tired. Because they're fucking tired, schlepping back and forth. And so they might as well be running on a treadmill. It doesn't make any sense. And then so this US-UK game, 10 years, US-UK, everybody, USA, USA, USA. And I'm like, and everybody's running naked with flags around their necks, running up and down Lincoln Road. I'm like, this is goddamn. And we watch this game. We watch this game. And we watch this game. And finally, like, the refs are just like, I don't know, I got dinner. I don't know what the fuck time it is, but let's just call it. It's a draw. And I went, I'm sorry. Excuse me, what? It's a draw?
You're good.
They have a tie. Look, they have ties in this one. Like, this is not a real fucking sport. I'm like, it's only the most popular sport in the world because literally any country can put a ball on the ground, draw two lines on the floor.
You can't have a tie in World Cup.
I love Billy.
And I think they changed those rules.
I hope so.
Because it was unbelievable.
After regulation, maybe tie the goalie's feet together, something.
You get us
so we get a score.
You get us all riled up about this game, and then you're like,
I
what time is
kind
it?
of liked watching World Cup, but as soon as it was over, we all went back to not liking soccer.
Because
right?
it sucks.
Because it didn't have that energy. Hey, I know you got to go, but Porter Fisher, really fast.
Oh, God.
Porter Fisher and Screwball. So you got Tony Bosch, who ran the clinic, and the players came to him. I guess Manny Ramirez was the one that got in trouble, and then Arod stupidly decides after Tony lies low, not for that long, maybe a couple months, decides I need to go to that guy.
That was the word of mouth.
That was insane too. It's like, yo, the heat's on this guy. You're gonna go to.
Manny got that after Tony started treating him. He got that Dodgers contract.
Yeah.
What was that, $40 million for a couple of years? I mean, like, why would you not go to this guy? I mean, why would you not?
So Tony Bosch's life was good. The players were coming to him and stuff. And like you said to begin this, and this is why you got to see Screwball, the documentary from Billy Corben. You got this guy, Porter Fisher, that just is desperate for attention, who likes to tan, is in the tanning salon, and Bosch is in the back basically doing his thing there, Carl. and this Porter Fisher just wanted to be somebody, right? And then Tony falls on bad times. This isn't giving away.
No,
too
not
much.
at all.
Okay,
Please,
good. Tony falls on bad times and goes to Porter Fisher knowing he's a needy fucking guy that just wants to be like.
And he was riding his bicycle, got hit by a Jaguar, and got an insurance settlement.
Yeah, because
he had some money.
Because he doesn't really have money to begin with. What did he do before he got hit by the car?
Like in marketing and just odd
very
jobs and
vague,
things.
not really making much money. So he has some money to fool around with, and Tony Bosch needs a little loan to get back on his feet because now Tony's life is spiraling with his cocaine abuse and all that. Right. So Porter Fisher gives him $4,000 loan, and then obsesses about getting paid back, and that's the only reason that Arod got fucked.
Incidentally, I believe that Tony took that $4,000 and put it directly up his nose. Is what I think, and he was pretty candid about that. That he had between $5,000-$6,000 a month cocaine habit.
Right,
that's a good one.
That's a solid habit.
Yeah.
Right?
So
you're only living half the month, like
consistent.
You're sleeping half the month and partying half the month. That's what
And he'd go to a player who'd give him like $15,000 cash for like he did like concierge service. He'd come to the game and service you, and then he would take the $15,000, grab his girlfriend. They'd go to New York for a weekend until the money was gone. So he wouldn't go pay his child support or his rent or his cable bill, or he would just go until the $15,000 in New York and party till the $15,000 was gone, and then go back to Miami or go back on the road and get some more clients and more money. That's what addicts do, like you party till it's gone.
He went through a lot of the money, but this Porter Fisher was with his obsession of getting paid back with interest, and Tony doesn't have it, and he's getting more and more violent toward Tony Bosch, and then decides I'm going to ruin his life. And that's when he starts snooping around and stealing stuff that led to Major League Baseball and everyone else. The authorities finding out that A-Rod's in these books with other Major League Baseball players.
He doesn't get violent per se, but he gets he has a short fuse.
Yeah.
And it burns out over less than 4-week period. Basically just 4 weeks from the time he gave him the money to the time when
he wanted it back 4 weeks later?
No, Tony, according to Porter, Tony had agreed to pay it back in installments on a weekly basis until he was paid back with interest. And so when he started to miss payments, Porter got suspicious. And that's when he realized that Tony was in a bit of was about to hit rock bottom, and that things weren't being paid for around the office in his life. And then he discovered at some point that Tony was not a licensed physician in the state of Florida. He felt really duped you know, and he felt really, because he wanted to come into the company and do like marketing and advertising for Tony. And then one of the guys in the movie, the journalist Tim Elfrink, he goes, that would be like going to your neighborhood cocaine dealer and being like, hey, I love what you do. Yeah. I want to advertise. I want to promote your business. You know, Tony can't do that. And so then it just went belly up. And Arod was collateral damage in that battle.
Unbelievable.
Over $4,000 lousy dollars. That's what's fucked up A-Rod's legacy. Yeah, we got to get Billy out of here.
That was awesome.
The movie Screwball, the documentary, it's fantastic. Another great one.
Thank you.
Billy Corben.
Another home run.
No pun intended.
Yes.
Do you think you've made a bad one?
Oh, fuck yes.
Really?
I've made a bad one, yeah. But documentaries are like, you know, children. You have your favorites, you just don't tell anyone which ones they are.
And you guys are connected to the Free Solo people, right?
Well, the distributor, Greenwich Entertainment, who released Screwball today in theaters, March 29th in 12 cities, and then April 5th on VOD. So you get that wherever you VOD, iTunes and Amazon and everything. But they just distributed last year Free Solo, which of course just won the Academy Award for Best Documentary. So we're in good company.
Documentary, we talked about it on the podcast.
Incredible.
How do you do that?
It's nuts. Like, I remember when I first saw the poster,
that?
I was like standing in the theater. I'm like, what am I looking at? This is insane. This dude fucking dangling.
With no ropes,
like
nothing, just his
dangling.
hands and his stupid powder.
Let Billy go, will you?
With his stupid powder.
Let Billy go.
That's what got Tony Bosch in trouble, was that stupid powder.
Billy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
the best. I had a great time.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he cares what I'm doing, but I had a great time.
And the
hot dog.
Yeah, exactly. What do you want to promote? The socials, Billy Corben on social media, right?
Yeah, at Billy Corben, Corben. I'm not the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins.
No,
I get that.
Your
a
personality
lot.
is way better.
So's my hair, by the way.
Yeah,
I've talked to both of you guys, and trust me, you win that battle.
Oh,
and I love the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, you should hear me play the guitar. Not as impressive.
Stop taking yourself so seriously and just have fun like this, Billy Corben. My God, man. Anyway.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Billy Corben, everyone. Joey, wrap it up. Boo! Boo, 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 boo. Boo.
I'll wrap it up as soon as you guys are finished with your behind-the-scenes banter.
Oh, my God, Bill. That was great, man. That was fun. I hope we...
Great to see you, brother.
Good to see you, too.
Bro, you're a fucking monster, bro.
I love that you go after the politicians, man. More people need to.
If you stop them in the municipal, they won't make it to Congress.
If you don't speak truth to power, they're going to keep lying to you, and eventually they'll shut you up.
Right.
So what are you going to do?
Take a picture.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, want to get a picture quick?
Yeah. Where you go, bro? He's already eating. He's already in the other room stuffing his face. He's already got a hot dog. Where did that come from?
All right, well, that does it for episode 96. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, maybe a comment or a short review. Go to OpieRadio.com for a cool Ruizing hat or some t-shirts. You can also stream this free podcast there anytime on demand. Visit my Spotify page and follow me and stream some of my songs. Follow Carl Ruiz at Sabor Chef on Instagram or Twitter. And of course, join Greg's Facebook group, the Opie Radio Podcast. And on behalf of the Westwood One Podcast Network, we thank you for listening to another episode of Opie Radio.
From the Westwood One Podcast Network.